I love death game movies. Any kind of competition that puts people head to head with each other, and if they don't win, they die. I am always going to be here for it. And when looking at new movies to watch, I accidentally found a type of death game movie that I've never seen before. And it's an adult animated cartoon. And it's got Bill Moseley as one of the voices in it, aka Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So I'm here for this. But if you have no idea about To Your Last Death from 2019, let me quickly fill you in. In order to save her siblings, a young woman takes on her father and the powerful entity known as the Game Master, who ensnares humans into diabolical plots while her species gambles on the outcome. As always here on my channel, I am now going to go and watch To Your Last Death from 2019 off camera, so that way if you too want to watch this movie, nothing will be spoilt for you. Nobody wants to watch a movie that they have just watched somebody else watch from start to finish.
I know I've been here before.
For a movie that I have never watched before, I feel like I have watched this movie multiple times before, because the number of things that this has drawn direct reference from, I could make an entire list from them. There is blood, there is gore, there is violence, there is a scene with cartoon boobs at one point, and all of this is mixed together with a lot of very adult themes. So when I say that this is a cartoon for adults, I really mean that. We're talking like topics of self-harm and conversations of sexual abuse within a marriage, so please bear that in mind if you are going to watch To Your Last Death. I will say that I really like the opening. It is done so it's actually like a comic book where you jump between the different panels, so you'll see something happen and then it will pan across to the next panel, and then that will be animated and then it'll move across to the next panel. So I really like that it is very aware that it is a cartoon, so I have to give it props for that. The start of this movie though reminds me of another movie that I am very, very fond of. It is such a direct copy of Repo the Genetic Opera and what the storyline is with what's going to happen with Jinko's legacy. If you've ever seen Repo, you will know exactly what I am talking about. It is that opening, but without the Repo men, down to a T. So all of this is happening, and then you get a scene which is a direct reference to Alice's history in Alice Madness Returns in the Asylum. That then happens, and then a woman that looks an awful lot like Wonder Woman turns up, things get wild, and the game starts. So much happens in such a short period of time, but none of it is original, and I can, as I've just proved, you can pinpoint down to the exact where the references have come from. The movie follows Miriam, who is voiced by Danny Lennon, who does a really good job of the voice acting in this. She is then tasked by the Wonder Woman lookalike to take part in a death game that her father is already playing, and this is where the time loop element comes into it. This is all within the first 10 minutes. Her dad is estranged from her and the rest of her siblings, and he is voiced by Ray Wise. Now, Cyrus, who is her father, is your extreme right-wing, money is everything, I will kill one of my kids because they are gay, that is actually a plot point in this, uses homophobic slurs, kind of arsehole. And you do spend the entire movie rooting for his death because he is so vile, so vile. I found that because this is an animated movie, they were able to take that sort of violence and gore and what the players actually have to do in order to win their saw traps, because they are literally replicas of some of the saw traps. They could push further, because obviously you're not making real people or stunt actors physically have to put themselves through this. So I appreciate that. And then you add in this weird time loop, which means that you are able to repeat things and change things, and this is where things start to get confusing. I do think though that it comes with a downside to this, and that is because they're animated, you're never going to have the same attachment to them as you would be if this was, say, live actors doing the exact same thing. The example I can give is the sawing the lady in half trap in this while taking a pop quiz. Like, it is never going to be as impactful as the exact same trap is in Zero the Bravest Money Game when they do the pendulum quiz. If you have seen Zero the Bravest Money Game, you will know the exact game that I am talking about. If not, please go and watch Zero the Bravest Money Game. It is one of the most amazing death game series that I have ever seen. This leads me to my other issue with them, and that is none of these traps are original, and I can, in most of these cases, tell you exactly where the inspiration has come from and if they are identical or near identical replicas of where the inspiration has actually come from. That is partially on me as well, because I have consumed so much death game media over the past years that I am going to see these direct references, and if you are somebody that is new to this subgenre or has only seen a few things in this subgenre, say you've only seen Saw, you'll get a few of the references, but you're not going to be able to look at something and go, oh, that comes from this movie, or this comes from this movie, or this comes from a TV show. So it will be a much better viewing experience if you have less knowledge of the diversity of death games that are out there. My big issue, though, is the time loop mechanic. Now, how this gets used is something will happen and then there will be a time loop, so it resets itself. And then there will be another time loop that not only just resets what has just happened, it will reset the previous 3 time loops that have happened. And you are expected to be able to remember the entire plot of this movie, to remember what has actually happened. Like, can I tell you the timeline of events, how they actually happened because things keep being reset? Absolutely not. And in the last 30 minutes of this movie, I was so confused.
I have no memory of this place.
You get told things like, oh, this didn't happen anymore, and that didn't happen anymore. And all I can tell you is at the beginning of the actual game, Miriam walks into the building with her 3 siblings, and then she may or may not help them escape their traps, and then she may or may not have arguments with these people, and there's disagreements going on, and you don't know why people are having disagreements with everybody, because they're not explaining to you what exactly is missing from the time loops anymore. It's a confusing mess. If you mix together Repo the Genetic Opera, Zero the Bravest Money Game, 31, the Belko Experiment, Alice Lidl's backstory from the game Alice Madness Returns, the time loop dynamic from the game Deathloop, and the art style from Archer, you get To Your Last Death. Now, this may sound like a really cool mix of things, but it's too much. And the ending of this movie sucks. Like, I'm throwing that out there. Like, the first maybe 45 minutes of this movie are fairly decent. Like, they're a good death game movie, and then the second half, they just throw too much into it, and the ending just feels like a cop-out. I'm gonna give To Your Last Death from 2019 a 3 out of 5 stars. I like the art style, I like the voice acting, I like the soundtrack. The plot is meh, and it is way too confusing in the second half, and it just doesn't feel original if you've consumed a lot of death games. Like, it's relying too much on its art style to help it stand out in a sea of death games. So there you have it, my initial thoughts and my review for To Your Last Death from 2019. If you've also seen this movie, I would love to know what your thoughts and opinions are down in the comments section down below. If you are new here, I go by Hordes and I post a brand new video every Monday and Friday here on YouTube. But if you would like to know every single horror movie that I watch, you can find me over on Letterboxd and Instagram, where I am trying to watch another 150 movies in the year 2024. I will be back on Friday with another solo movie review from the 80s this time. But until next time, bye.